3, 2, 1. Thank you again for viewing my midterm presentation for BAE 238 for the 2025 winter term. I am Master Corporal Adrian Osmond and have chosen to do my strategic analysis on the well-known strategic management failure that is Blockbuster. So Blockbuster, let's get started with some background. Founded in 1985 by David Cook as a single video rental store, but later branching into large international franchise in the 90s. Their business model focused on a brick-and-mortar experience, excelling at delivering release day video rentals to consumers and deriving additional revenue from fees and concessions while delivering a fun, energetic shopping experience. At its peak in the early 2000s, it included over 9,000 stores, 84,000 employees, and revenue over $6 million annually for the business. At one time, late fees made up nearly 16% of their total revenue. After slow leadership and a US recession, Blockbuster eventually filed for bankruptcy in 2010, despite a massive growth in the market. Through this presentation, I'll highlight how the market shifted, the challenges Blockbuster faced, how they adapted, and ultimately what led to their downfall, with their top competitor taking the reins. Let's begin with a SWOT matrix and identify the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats Blockbuster had and faced in the market. Strengths: internal, positive. Brand equity. Blockbuster was a household name, entirely synonymous with movie rentals. Market reach. With over 9,000 stores globally, their strong market reach helped ensure absolute dominance in the brick-and-mortar video rental market. Studio partnerships. Being such a powerhouse in the market helped secure exclusivity rights, with some new releases giving it a content advantage. Weaknesses: internal, negative. Slow decision making. It's no secret that Blockbuster was entirely late to the game in developing digital distribution, even as that market exploded in growth. Dependence on late fees. Up to 16% of their entire revenue was derived from late fees, which customers actively avoided. Inventory. Physical inventory had to be moved around at great expense, especially when compared to digital options. Poor online strategy. Blockbuster waited until 2004 to launch Blockbuster Online in an attempt to compete with an already established Netflix. Netflix's subscription-based model helped ensure themselves brand loyalty. Opportunity: external, positive. New distribution options. With rising demand for streaming, early investment could have secured additional market share. Co-marketing. Partnerships with other organizations such as technology providers could have expanded their digital footprint. Acquisition. In 2004, Netflix offered to sell a 49% stake in themselves to Blockbuster for $50 million. According to a Netflix co-founder, Blockbuster reportedly laughed them out of the room. Threats: external, negative. Economy. With the recession in the 2000s, customers were looking for more cost-conscious options and easily swayed by cheaper competitors. As to those competitors, Walmart offered movie purchases at lower prices, Netflix was pioneering new online distribution, and iTunes was paying for new exclusivity deals, which inhibited Blockbuster's ability to get some new releases. So what are our takeaways from the SWOT matrix? Strengths became irrelevant. Physical stores, while once offered a vast network of brand recognition and ease of distribution, were no longer a competitive advantage in the digital age. Weaknesses were exploited by competitors as Netflix's customer-first and subscription model outshined Blockbuster's late fee-based revenue. Opportunities were ignored. Blockbuster failed to pivot to online distribution despite the emerging market trends. And threats were underestimated. Blockbuster ignored just how quickly customer behavior was changing. They failed to recognize that low cost and digital convenience were trumping brand loyalty. Next, we'll look at the competitive landscape and challenges. I'd like to stress that while some of these points look similar to the previous SWOT analysis, the goal here is to provide new context with a focus on industry-wide trends, competitive pressures, and challenges that Blockbuster face, not just Blockbuster's own perspective in the market. Industry landscape, rise of digital streaming. The video rental market was a market in flux. The early 2000s saw rapid technological advancements in digital media, especially in new emerging streaming platforms like Netflix and release-day digital downloads like iTunes. Subscription-based models and streaming, both offered by the emerging giant Netflix, revolutionized consumer expectations through convenience and, unfortunately for Blockbuster, no late fees. Streaming clearly wasn't just a trend, it was a fundamental shift in the market. However, Blockbuster treated it as niche as opposed to a clearly disruptive innovation. Internal challenges. Strategic missteps would continue to show Blockbuster's leadership struggle to adapt. Consumers resented the practice of late fees, which forced them to spend more than expected. Blockbuster relied on this revenue, whereas competitors dropped it entirely in favor of convenience. Blockbuster rejected Netflix's acquisition offer, showing how they underestimated them as a competitor and digital disruptor. With Blockbuster beginning to lose money, the franchise model began to struggle with disagreements between corporate leadership and franchise owners. This further led to an inconsistent customer experience and hampered innovation efforts. External challenges show a consistent competitive pressure and consumer shifts. The rise of convenience-driven consumer behavior favored online platforms, which Blockbuster struggled to keep up with. Technological improvements in internet access, speeds, and quality all worked to help shift the market into a digital space. The early 2000s recession in the US made customers more cost-conscious, which accelerated the shift to low-cost streaming services like Netflix. Strategic outcome shows the cost of Blockbuster's complacency. Blockbuster's global dominance collapsed as Netflix and others continued global expansion. Better pricing, remember, no late fees, helped customers shift away from Blockbuster to lower cost alternatives. By 2010, Blockbuster declared bankruptcy. They were no longer a competitive force in the market, which ensured any remaining consumers continued investing elsewhere. Here's a chart detailing Blockbuster's revenue rise and fall versus Netflix, arguably their largest competitor and most involved in the predominant market shifts. It was in 2000 that Netflix offered to sell 49% stake in themselves to Blockbuster for $50 million US. Blockbuster declined and for the next few years did see an increase in revenue until 2004 when they peaked. While Netflix didn't begin offering streaming widely until 2007, it was in 2005 that Blockbuster dropped its late fees, thus the sizable drop in revenue. Of course, by 2007, Netflix was now streaming, and you can see the dramatic drop in Blockbuster's revenue as customers flocked to convenience until Blockbuster inevitably filed for bankruptcy in 2010. Something else worth mentioning is that when adjusted for inflation, Netflix's revenue for 2024 exceeded $25.5 billion in 2004 dollars, or over 4 times Blockbuster's peak, which just demonstrates how much the market itself grew even without Blockbuster's involvement. Innovation paralysis. As a class, we've previously discussed core competencies as how some businesses have been successful in doubling down and investing in what already makes them successful. One example given was how Honda, realizing the success with their small motors, expanded that success outside into cars, bikes, snowblowers, all manner of additional markets. In that discussion, many of us, of course, illustrated the dangers of investing too heavily on core competencies and leaving oneself unable to adapt to a shifting market. Core competency trap. Blockbuster fell into what Prahalad and Hamill would call a core competency trap by overcommitting in what made them successful while ignoring market changes. Strategic inflexibility. The company prioritized protecting their late fee and concession revenues, knowing they'd be lost with the digital evolution. Missed opportunities. Blockbuster launched their own online platform in late 2004, which was actually nearly halfway between refusing Netflix's acquisition and their own bankruptcy. In conclusion, I think Peter Senge of the MIT Sloan School of Management put it succinctly when he said, "The only sustainable competitive advantage is an organization's ability to learn faster than the competition." Our textbook talks about the importance of scanning the external environment, critical in strategic management, in order to recognize the need to adapt. While Blockbuster did eventually drop the late fee model and later even enter the streaming space, it was all too little too late, as their competition was far more prepared to seize the additional market share as the market shifted from physical to digital. Even in the face of Netflix's sale offer, Blockbuster's corporate leadership's inability to recognize the change and shifts in the market, either through customer habits or digital evolution, eventually led to their downfall. Thank you for your time, and thank you again for the consideration of permitting me to record this on my own time. While I'm aware there's no time for a Q&A on this presentation, please feel free to reach out to me with any follow-up questions or discussion to help score those additional points. I would even welcome input or questions, a discussion from the other students if that's a possibility. Thank you again.